the concept of learning Hilchos Beis Abchira during the 3 weeks. So we're going to learn about an Indian that the Rebbe speaks about in a couple of places, and discuss the Chiddush of the Rebbe, which is a amazing breakthrough. And the Bais MaMikdash is made up of different things. The Rambam says Bais MaMikdash is made up of obviously the structure, and in that structure there were vessels. The Rambam called Kalim in the structure of the Bais MaMikdash. And when the Rambam enumerates the vessels, he goes through a list of them, and amongst the list of the vessels, he speaks about, we're going to see soon on your sheet, he speaks about the Arain as being one of the vessels that exist in the Bais MaMikdash. And that's in other words, there were many different parts. So and if you look in the Rambam, in Hilchos Beis Abchira, he breaks it down in that manner. He speaks about the Bais MaMikdash in itself, and then he speaks about the different vessels. But the Aron takes a very interesting role, and how the Rambam presents the Aron. There's a whole parak pretty much dedicated to the menorah. There is a parak dedicated to the Shulchan, to the Mizbeach and the Shulchan, because each thing had so many halachas. The Aron has nothing. One place where the Rambam speaks about halachas, the Aron is, instead of giving us halachas, instead of really describing much about it, he gives us a history. And the history that he speaks about is a strange part of the history of the Aron. Not the history of making of the Aron, the history of hiding the Aron. Spends a lot of time talking about the history of hiding the Aron. Now, we know the Rambam is not a history book. Never wrote history. Whenever he does that, there's always, the Mechabrim who write on the Rambam will always jump as a good means to analyze and come up with some kind of a explanation. Why does he do that? Whenever the Rambam writes something out of his ordinary, out of the ordinary, and this is definitely out of the ordinary, as we will see in a moment when we read it inside, we need to understand what is the purpose and what is the goal behind it and why does he do this. So let's start with learning that Rambam, and then seeing some other parts of the Rambam, and discussing in general what the purpose of the Bais MaMikdash is, how the Rambam sees it, the famous machlekes in the Rambam and the Ramban. If there is a machlekes, the Rebbe wants to say there is no machlekes. It's just Mara Machad V'le Pligi. But let's get into that to that discussion. So first, let's start off with the Rambam. Hilchos Beis Abchira, you have it in front of you. Perik Dalit Halacha Aleph. So now that's after talking about many of the parts of the that are in the Mishkan, the Kli HaMishkan. Now he comes to talk about the Aron, and he starts off by saying, "Even Hoyse b'Kedesh HaKadoshim." There was a stone in the middle of the Kedesh HaKadoshim, b'Ma'aravai in its western side. Shehaleha haya Aron munach, that the Aron rested on that. That's it. That's about all you're going to get about the Aron from the Rambam. This is what you have to know about the Aron. And ulafanav tzintzenes hamon umate Aron. And before the Aron, you had the jug of the man that was left as a memorabilia that we needed to have, that they wanted us to have forever, and the stick of Aaron, which proved Aaron's legitimacy and to the kahuna. Now, so that's it. We know the Aaron. What do we need more than that? No, Aaron now goes into a long description. Ube'eis shabana shleimes habayis. When Shlomo built the Bais MaMikdash, now the Yoda sheseifei lechorev, he built it knowing it's going to be destroyed one day. Bana by mokim ligneis by ha'aron. He built a place to hide the Aron. And again, here the Rambam goes so uncharacteristic of the Rambam to be so descriptive on facts that seem to be meaningless as far as halacha. And the Rambam writes that his sefer is a sefer halachas. That's it. That's what it's for. And where he built it, lemato, b'matmuniyos, amukos, v'akalkulos. Basically, they were deep places, deep down with winding areas that are not easy to get to. Why? What do we need this for? And then, again, not finished yet. He's teaching us history now. V'yashio hamelech tziva v'gonzoi b'makom shabana shleim. Yashio hamelech commanded that they should hide it over there. He commanded that they should hide it. We need a command. He told them to hide it. He hid it. You know the story my father would always say. A guy went into somebody's house. He comes out. The guy wanted to hit me. He said, "How do you know he wanted to hit me?" Because he hit me. You know, why did you say he hit it? He commanded to hide it. What's the command important over there? Then he goes on and brings a pasuk. Vayem el leviim hamevinim. It's a pasuk in Chagi. Leviim hamevinim lechol Yisroel. The Leviim who teach all the Jews, Hakadeshim Lashem, who are holy to God. Tnu es harein hakedesh b'bayis hashabana Shlomo ben David melech Yisrael. Put the Aron into the house that Shlomo built. Ein lechem masa b'kosev. Ato ivdos Hashem lekeichem. They're very pshatim. Basically, one of the pshatim, the simple pshat is, guys, your job is done. Now you can retire and sit and learn. You can serve Hashem. You don't have to worry about no more carrying the Aron around. Now you can serve it. Again, what's the gate of the Rambam? Where does it come into the halachas of the Rambam? And then he goes on to say that there were other things that were hidden. There were nignas, imay matar, vatzinsenes, v'shem anamishke, v'chol eilu lechazu Bais Sheni. And then he says none of this came back in Bais Sheni. Now, finished? No, not finished. V'af urim v'tumim shahayu v'Bais Sheni lo yoy mishim b'ruch hakodesh. Where's this coming in? Where did we get the urim v'tumim over here with the Bais Sheni? That the urim v'tumim. Now, what was the Urim and Tumim? The Shail in Rashi, in Rambam. But bottom line is, the Urim and Tumim was the means that would cause the Chayshon to speak, right? The Chayshon to according to Rambam, the Chayshon did not speak. According to Rambam, it was the Kayin who was able to misnabit through that. But in other words, it wasn't the Asius and the Chayshon Dafke. It was just that he was able to, through the Chayshon, he was able to see to realize what he has to do. It was a nevuah. And they would answer Baruch HaKadosh. Didn't happen anymore. No more asking L'ur Matumim. Where is this coming up here? We're talking about the Aron. Talking about what was hidden. Aron was hidden. Suddenly he talks about the Urim and Tumim, the meaning, the Chayshon, according to the Rambam, was there. It didn't do its. It wasn't able to accomplish its function of creating the nevuah that the Kain would have when he would look at it and he would be able to answer questions. So, but still, it was needed as one of the begadim. Where does this come in? So this Rambam. I mean, the Rebbe, the haras that I'm making are not mine. These are the haras the Rebbe makes in word to word. This Rambam is uncharacteristically long, uncharacteristically disorganized according to his usual organizational skills, which were so phenomenal, and uncharacteristically not halachic. He's going into things that have nothing to do with his role in Yad HaChazaka. And yet, he does this. So these are the questions that the Rebbe raises, amongst other questions, but these are the ones that are very blatant. Okay, so we're going to come back to this. And again, I just want to say that the Rebbe's insight into this Rambam, and after he answers it, not only is there no questions, but every word here is measured and in place and teaches us something. It's incredible. I always tell the story, and probably Rabbi Goldberg heard it to me a couple of times, but it comes out sometimes at Fabrengens. But I tell the story that years ago we had a shiur in yeshiva, learning the Rambam's halachas, where there's a lot of where there's the Rebbe seeks sichas that are alumdish sichas, and this was one of the problem was it was a once a week share that would last about 3-4 weeks, one sicha. So in retrospect, it was really unfair to ask of even 16-year-old boys to be able to keep track week to week of what we learned a week ago and then be excited about it. But it really bothered me that I didn't get the excitement about it. And I said one week during that time, there was a wedding here in town, and a friend of mine that I learned together at yeshiva in my good old days, and who was from the big Rosh Yeshivas in the non-Lubavitch world. And I met him there, and he asked, we talk and learning all the time whenever we meet. So he asked me, "Nu, in was kocht?" So I told him over the sicha. The Rebbe said this. I was not doing. And he went nuts about the yukim and the answer, how everything fits so beautifully. He just went crazy. I mean, the excitement was just really beautiful to see. And then I come back to the Bachim, and I'm giving the shir. And I asked him, "Can you explain this to me? Why was that?" Okay, that's for a different time to explain the answer that I gave. But the point is that if somebody who's intelligent and sees the Rebbe's, you say this is unbelievable. But before we go there, let's see to some of the orders that the Rebbe gives. So in Perek Aleph, where the Rambam basically sets up the Bais MaMikdash, he says, "Ve'elu dvarim shehein ikir bebinyan habayis." These are the most important parts of the structure. He's talking about the structure, and there he says, "Eisim by Kadesh, the Kadesh Hakadoshim." There's an area called the Kadesh, the holy area. There is the Holy of Holies. And then there is the entrance gateway to the holy area. When you combine those three areas, they're called the Heichal. And he goes on more detail, which we'll leave, and then he says, outside there is a courtyard. Halacha Vav, that's Halacha Hey. The next Halacha, Eisim b'Mikdash Kalim. And in the Mikdash there are Kalim. What are the Kalim? Mizbeach la'oila u'l'shar kabanos. The Kevesh she'elim be'il mizbeach. And the ram. U'mekeme lifnei ha'ula Moshiach Adam, exactly the position that he gives. V'kiyar v'kanei l'kadosh v'nakani v'ydeim ragleim la'aved. U'mekeme be'imud la'mizbeach Moshiach l'darim shehu smeil hanichnas l'mikdash. And then he goes on, and he says, now here again, he doesn't mention the Aron, but later, but in the Mishnayos and other places, it does mention that about the Aron. I think somewhere in the Rambam there's also an expression about the Aron, but not in detail. Nothing details, no detail. The other things he goes into detail. So there is again, you have the bias and you have the kalim. Where does the Aron fall into place? Is it part of the bias or part of the kalim? Now, that's something that we will discuss soon. Okay, so before we go into that, I want to preface with a general understanding of what the Bais MaMikdash is all about. You have a Bais MaMikdash. Why do we have a Bais MaMikdash? What's the purpose of the Bais MaMikdash? So the Rambam says one thing. On the surface, it would seem there's a machlekes between the Rambam and the Ramban in the basic concept. Why do we have a Bais MaMikdash? The Rambam, the first halacha in Hilchos Beis Abchira, you have it in front of you. Mitzvahs asay lasas bayis Hashem muchan lias makrivim b'yakabanis. It's a place where you need to bring sacrifices. V'chegen elav shalosh v'mashana, and it's a place where you go and you do you bring the chagiga there, where you celebrate and you bring the chagiga there 3 times a year. Shenema v'asul l'mikdash. So the Rambam seems to say that the Mikdash Bais MaMikdash is made for the purpose of bringing kabbalas, being a legel, to go there. And that is consistent with the Rambam's approach in many places. Although, again, let's see the Ramban. The Ramban definitely does not agree with that. The Ramban says in Parshas Truma, and he also says it in other places, but this is where he's very, very explicit and very clear, V'hinei iker ha'chefetz v'mishkan hu mokim menuchas ha'shchina shehu ha'aron. Says the Rambam, the most important part of the Bais MaMikdash is the Aron. Why the Aron? Because that's the place where the Shechina rests. I will speak to you from the kapayos. Therefore, says the Rambam, the first keli that the Torah speaks about in the first keli the Torah speaks about is what? The Aron. Because that's it. That's what it's about. You want to make also the Mikdash? Aron. Then he speaks about the other kelim that go like. Now, V'Said HaMishkan, the next paragraph. Beautiful words of the Ramban. Sheyiyah HaKoved Asher Shochen Al Har Sinai Sheichin Olav, and here the Rebbe is medayik in a very important word, Benistar. That there is the purpose of the Mishkan is that what was revealed at Har Sinai should be in the Bais MaMikdash in a concealed way. Nemar Shem va'yishken kved Shem al Har Sinai, and hey neron Hashem again is kved of his godloi. It was done, and in the Mishkan it was the same idea. Okay, so we have a Rambam who seems to tell us that if you're going to choose what is the quintessential keli in the Mishkan, what is it going to be? The Aron. Without an Aron, you're missing the Mishkan. You have a Mishkan, you have everything, but you're missing something. You're missing something, it's not something, you're missing an integral part of the Mishkan. Okay. There is a pasuk in Chagi, Perek Beis, pasuk Tes, famous pasuk. Godol yiyeh kved habayis hazeh ha'achrein min harishon. The second Bais MaMikdash is going to be greater than the first Bais MaMikdash. Now there is an opinion that it means the last Bais MaMikdash, but the Pashup Shat is it means the second Bais MaMikdash. Now how is it greater? We'll see soon. Amar Hashem tzvokos, and then it continues. So Rashi says, the Gemara brings the Gemara, Machlekes of Rav and Shmuel. How was it bigger? Either it was taller or it lasted 10 more years. So it was greater. Godel yiyeh bayis hazeh min harishon. Ha'achrein min harishon. Fact, the Rebbe Kasha, that's a Welt's Kasha. Everybody has the question. How could it be bigger? According to the Rambam, you're missing the most important part of the Mishkan. There is no Aron. The Aron is not there, and you're going to tell me that what? That this bias is great because it's taller? Big thing. You're going to have just imagine you have this great, brilliant man who can teach you about quantum physics, and then you got this tall, 7-foot basketball player who knows how to drop a ball into the basket, but that's about as far as he can do. And so, you're going to tell me, well, this guy's greater than that guy because what idiot? He makes more money. Sure. But that's about it. That's greater? Makes any sense? Because he's taller? Or he's 10 years older? What does that do? Is he can be 40 years older? He still don't know how to do it, to tie his shoelaces. So what is this all about? So it doesn't make it, that's the discussion. It makes no sense. So this is something that, again, it leads to our next discussion of going back and understanding what's going on over there. So, because of this question, the Rebbe asks in a different sefer, and references what he says regarding this Rambam over there. So, I want to tell you what the Rebbe says regarding this Rambam, and explains the Rambam in an unbelievable way. Basically, the Rebbe says like this. Yes, the Aron is even. First of all, one idea. The Rebbe's Shitta is that the Ramban and the Rambam are only arguing on what level of Hashras Hashchina is necessary is part of the Mikdash. But that the Mikdash needs Hashras Hashchina is a Davar Pashat, and that's what it's really about. Question is it a revealed Hashras HaShechina? Is it a hidden Hashras HaShechina? To what degree the Hashras HaShechina is what they argue, but that's not what we want to talk about, but that's what it's about. Everybody agrees there's an inyan of Hashras HaShechina. So, the Nekuda that the Rebbe says is that this Rambam that stresses Even Hoya B'Kedish HaKadoshim and puts the Oren over there, the reason that he does this is to teach us, and that it was hidden, is to teach us that when Shlomo HaMelech came to build the Mishkan, he wanted an eternal Mishkan. He built a Mishkan that was eternal, a Mishkan that never, ever has been totally destroyed. And never, ever been totally destroyed. And in order to do that, he says, the Rambam, and that's what bothered the Rambam. Because if you don't say that the Mishkan is eternal, then how do you make, what's the second Bais MaMikdash if they compare to the first Bais MaMikdash? Nothing. So what did he do? He took the most important keli in the Bais MaMikdash and he built part of the Bais MaMikdash a place to hide that keli. That keli, that Aron should be there forever. Means the Aron never left the Bais MaMikdash. The Bais MaMikdash, what we see is, today, what you see is unfortunately, whatever it's called there. But that's not what's there. What's there is deep down, there is the Aron. And that Aron is part of the structure of the Bais MaMikdash. And that structure exists today as it did in the time when they built the Bais MaMikdash. And it's the reason why the Rambam is not telling you history. He's telling you current events. He is there to explain that this Mikdash that Shlomo HaMelech built is there today. And I always use as an example, it's a silly example, but it's a good example. And that is, that anybody, when I first taught this Sikha, there was a guy, a wealthy man in this community, who was building a new house. But he didn't want to, what did he do? He didn't build from scratch. He knocked down the old house, and he left a little wall, like a little part of the old house standing. And I used to walk by every day, and I used to bother him. Why is this guy doing this? He's crazy or something? Look at that, knock it down and build a new house. No. And he made a new foundation, and he redid everything, and then built attaching to that little part of the house. So I got a little older, I found out that he did it for tax purposes. Because new construction costs a lot of money. But if it's not new construction, it's just adding to an existing construction, it's a lot cheaper. So in order that it shouldn't be considered new construction, he left a piece of the old house. And then he did it. So when I learned this sikh, I said, where did that come from? You think the guys in Chicago could have thought that on themselves? It's not possible. They can't cover their own budgets. They're going to figure that out. So the answer is that it's according to Teva. Teva teaches us, and this is what the Rebbe says, that a structure that still has something left of it exists. And the Mikdash exists, the Rebbe says. And the Rambam is out to explain how is it that the Mikdash did not get totally destroyed. This is how it happened. And he tells you the history. Now let's go back to that Rambam and read it the way the Rebbe says. And he says, why is he stressing that? This wasn't a reaction. It's not that happened is that we came along and we realized there's going to be, we have trouble brewing ahead and we're going to hide the Aron. No. From the moment it was built, the Mishkan, the Bais MaMikdash was built, Shlomo HaMelech added to the structure of the Bais MaMikdash a vault and a place to hide the Aron. And that was in the plans of the Mishkan. Now, it sounds like he did it on his own. But we know that by the Mishkan it says, Hakoil Biksav, Hakoil Biksav, Hashem Alai Yisrael. That everything came from the Eibishter. So somehow, this was part of the original design. The architectural plans of the Mishkan, this is in it. Step number one. And therefore, this area is part of the Binyan Abayis. You want to know what the Binyan Abayis is? There is the Kodesh, and there's the Kodesh Kedoshim, and there's the Ula, and that's called the Heichel. And then there's an extension that's on the ground. Now, the Yodash Sefer Lecharev Bana by Makim. And the reason, why did Shlomo HaMelech have to know he's going to be destroyed? Why does he have to know that he's going to be destroyed? You're going to build a Mishkan, a Bais MaMikdash, I'm sorry. Why are you worried about the destruction now? You know, what is the Rashi says in Chumash that the Eibishter said, why was he happy when he built the world? He knew it's going to be destroyed later. It's when you're happy, when it's good, when you're building and it's happy, you're happy, and then later when it's bad, you do what you have to do. Right? That was the answer Rashi says. So, Shlomo HaMelech is building a Bais MaMikdash. He's now making cheshbonos. I know it's going to be destroyed at a certain point. I got a plan. Got a plan for my retirement. I'm 20 years old. Got to start the job right away. What do you do with your retirement? Retirement. I got 40 years ahead of me. Good. Who thinks that you're thinking about destruction? Yeah, because this is part of the building. The reason the Eibishter wanted him to know this, right? Because you got to build a building that lasts forever. You got to build a building that can withstand the earthquake, and you got to build a building that withstands hurricanes. Yeah, guy's building this tower in Miami Beach, and he has to make sure that it stands even when the hurricane comes. Why? Because that's part of the building. This building has to withstand destruction after destruction. It's going to still be there. So that's why the Yodash that it's going to be char. Then he goes on, the Yisroel HaMelech. Yisroel HaMelech lived in a time of peace. Things were good in his days. The Jews weren't under siege. He had no reason to hide it. Faket! So the Rebbe says that's why it says Yisroel HaMelech did it. Why? Because he didn't do it out of duress. It was part of the plan. Now it's time. He knew it was a time. Now is a good time to put it away. Then put it in a different part of the Bais MaMikdash. And that's why he says Tziva v'Ganzai. Why is he trying to say Tziva? Because it's part of just like Shlomo HaMelech went and brought it into the Bais MaMikdash, he brought it into the second part of the Bais MaMikdash, to the annex of the Bais MaMikdash, to the underground Bais MaMikdash. And then the Rebbe goes on to explain every part of the Psukim. He says, the Lashon of the Pasuk is Tnu Esarein HaKodesh Rebayis. Put it in there. What do you mean, put it in there? You're taking it away. No, it's placing in the right place. And then the Rebbe says, beautiful. What's the Urim v'Tumim telling you here? What is the Urim v'Tumim? The Urim v'Tumim was made to give Nevuah. In the second Bais MaMikdash, it didn't do what, it wasn't there begolui. The Urim v'Tumim was there, but it wasn't there revealed. It wasn't real, but it was there. That's why he puts it in over here, to tell you that the Aron HaKodesh may be hidden, but it's there. It's still there, just like the Urim v'Tumim, even though it was, but it was, you need it. It's part of the Bais MaMikdash. The Bais MaMikdash needs it. So the bottom line what the Rebbe is explaining is that the Bais MaMikdash needs the Aron because that's where Shechina is. And the second Bais MaMikdash could not be lacking that. Nothing, without that you don't have a Bais MaMikdash. And he goes on to say that that's why the Rambam uses the Lashon Bona Boy Makim Lignas Azar. And it's not part of destruction. It's part of building. It's part of the building that we have. And therefore, the Bais MaMikdash never has been destroyed. That's the holiness of the Makom HaMikdash. That's why it's still so holy no matter what. There's never a churban in the Bais MaMikdash. There's a churban in the binyan. There's a churban in the outside, but not in the inside. It's incredible. On Chaf Aleph Tammuz, which was less than a week ago, there's a Hayom Yom. And the Rebbe compares a person to the Bais MaMikdash. And he says, it says in the Pasuk, right? A reference that the Rebbe uses many, many times. It says in the Lashon, the Alter Rebbe writes, Amru Chazal, I think, Amru Chazal. Now, nobody has ever found Razal that say it. The source is a shalah, and source is in Achronim, but that's how he refers to as Ozal. The Rabbi saying is but basically, what it says is that b'shachanti b'seicham. What does that say? I didn't see. 10. That means I only spoke for 10, or I still have okay. So it says v'shachanti b'seicham b'seichel echad ve'echad. So the Rebbe says that every Jew has a Mikdash inside him. And just like the Mikdash is never totally destroyed, so too even if the Makkah Mikdash still remains holy, so the Jew remains holy. Now, it's the Yom Yom is bringing out that a Jew, no matter what you see, it's only the binyan that's missing, but the Jew is there. But if you, after reading this sikha is much deeper than that. It's telling you even much more than that. It's not only that, even in the binyan it exists. It's just hidden. Even in the building is there. It's just a hidden building. It hasn't been totally destroyed. So, and the Rebbe goes on. So that's just the side point that comes out from the sikha. So basically, the point that the Rebbe is making is that the Bais MaMikdash exists even today, and the second Bais MaMikdash had an urn. It was just a hidden urn. And he goes on to say a beautiful point.
Can I just ask a question?
Yeah.
Is this explaining about Dafke by Sheni or forever?
Forever. The Bais MaMikdash still stands
The
today.
Shaila about Geulah Bari says that.
Now, Geulah is a reference to the second Bais MaMikdash.
David says there clearly that this is forever.
No, but that the Aron is
The
forever.
part is forever.
Yeah, the Aron is forever.
Isn't
And
it-
matter of fact, the Rebbe says somewhere that the third Bais MaMikdash will be built on it. Off that. In other words, the third Bais MaMikdash is also not a new construction. The third Bais MaMikdash is a construction
It says that?
connected that in different areas.
I don't know much about it, but what's the machlekes about what happened to the fate of the Aron?
Okay. But that was going to the Shita that became indignus. There is a machlekes.
I'm saying, but
Whether it was taken away to a different place.
So could you say that according to that Shita, that eventually it was taken away? That was after Bayis Sheni, right? At the end of by the Churban of Bayis Sheni, or before, a little bit before?
I think it was before.
So could you say that according to that Shita, then this is explaining why Bayis Sheni was a true Bais MaMikdash?
The Rebbe does not go. The Rebbe is going clearly according to the Shita that holds that became indignus. I avoided that because he's going to soon show me 5, so I can't go too much further. But the point is that's a whole different discussion. In that sikh, the Rebbe starts off with that, but the Rebbe is going according to that mahalach that came in indignus. That's the one he favored, and the Rambam goes according to that. So obviously the Rambam holds like that.
But doesn't say forever.
What? The Rambam says he built it it should be there.
Shlomo Melech put it there and it remained it for Bayis Sheni, but maybe by the destruction of that.
There's no indication that anything changed from there, but I know that there's other way. I don't have it offhand right now, but when we were learning Baba Basra, there was clear. There was a sikha there that I came across, or it wasn't from a sikha, it was from Menachem, where the Rebbe speaks about the idea that the third Bais MaMikdash is predicated on that same arm. You know that it continues.
And Indiana Jones, they have a different story then.
Ken hem nicht, aber ich gehört von ihm. Okay, anyway. Listen, I ain't out in the West. We're in the Midwest. We didn't get that far. All right, so the next step that it takes us is that the connection of the Aron in a hidden state is a deeper connection even than in a revealed state. In other words, where is the Aron of the person, like a reference in the Amen, is deep inside the person. So the hidden Aron connects to the hidden state of the person. And therefore, ultimately, that's really the greatest connection that exists, is there. In the second Bais MaMikdash, not only was it Gadol b'shanim and begeva, it was Gadol because that's where that inner part of the hidden part of the Aron was able to bring out the hidden part of the person, and that's what that's the ultimate which ultimately brings out the holiness of a person, which we know in other areas of how Golus brings all that out. But there was the beginning of that, where it brought out that inner part of the person. And the Rebbe goes on to explain this, as we said, that both the Rambam and the Ramban, they all agree that Aron is a necessity, and you have to have that, and therefore it was only because of that, of the inner Mishkan, that the inner Aron that existed in the second Bais MaMikdash, that we were able to have a Bais MaMikdash, and that the Eibush is able to rest in the Bais MaMikdash, and therefore it exists even, he says, it exists in a hidden way, and therefore Bais Sheni, although it wasn't the revealed way in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, it was it's still, that is what is there till today. And he brings that Rambam, and he ends up saying that is where, that's really the existence that brings out eventually the Binyan HaMishkan, the Binyan Bais MaMikdash that will come back in the time of Moshiach. So the Nekudas Hadavar, first of all, the unbelievable understanding that the Bais HaMikdash exists today, and there's a part of the Bais HaMikdash that's alive and really there, is just like a major breakthrough. I mean, I haven't seen it anywhere else. This is and it's the words of the Rambam. The Rambam. It's like it illuminates the words of the Rambam, and that Indian, that concept, we understand what it was, the holiness. It says right? Shechina never left the Kaisel Maravi, which is the reason that people. The Kaisel is still Adayim, has such holiness in people. But now it has a whole different meaning. It's not Stanley Zazah Shechina, because that's where the Makom HaShrei Shechina still is. In that area is where the Aron is, and exactly, I don't know, the archaeological digs, what they're capable of coming up with. I don't know what they're capable of coming up with. When it says that Shlomo HaMelech made it in a way, Shlomo is Chacham Mikol Adam, he's definitely smarter than the Wak. And he's probably smarter than the Israeli, what's it called, the archaeologist. And he was able to do it away with and because that's holiness, you shouldn't be able to. It's a holiness so guarded that you can't touch it. And that holiness exists in every Jew. You can't touch it. You can't hurt it. And every Jew has it. And we're learning now the Maimer of Yud-Beis Tammuz Maimer of Nesatir Recha Neislis Neises, and the Rebbe speaks there the same concept, that there is the hidden part of a Jew that fakert. On one hand, says that Rabbi Yochanan Mezakei said, "Any day there is a derech malicha naisi." Why? Because he doesn't know how far he reached. In other words, he could have done everything. You can do Torah mitzvahs your whole life, but who says I got to the bottom, to the innermost parts of myself? But that itself shows that no matter what a Jew does, that innermost part is never touched. It's always holy and is always great. And that innermost part is what is represented by the Aron being hidden in the hiddenest most places. And with that, we bring out the greatest keiches that a person has. Now, we know that the Rebbe spoke many times, and specifically in the Maimon Tzava, about how Golus has the keich of bringing that out in the person. Golus brings it out. But ultimately, Isai in the Maimon and Satar Recha Neislis Neises, and Sai in Matat Tzava, the Rebbe stresses another part. That really, it's much greater than the Golus is talking important and was important, but we need to reach into ourselves and bring out our desire for the Eibishter, our inner connection to the Eibishter. We have a connection that's very deep, and that deep connection, we bring it out. Then we want godliness in the world, and we want Geulah Lakus. Even when things look good, we know that that's not what the world should be. We want a world of Gilui Lakus, not Helam of Lakus, and that's what that is the world that we are anticipating any moment and immediately with the coming of Moshiach.
Amen. Amen.